جونم مادر. سلام. Uh-huh. Okay, finally, are we on? Let's see who's here. Let me know, guys, if you can hear me and see me. If you can't see me, you gotta make an appointment with your eye doctor. And if you can't hear me, that would be ear, nose, and throat. So, but it would be good if you can. So I would think I'm connected. Let's see. What is it? I can't figure out if everything's okay here. Comments. Okay, no comments. That's wonderful. That's easy today. hmm 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 So we have whopping two people here, which is pretty encouraging. It tells me that we're doing something right. At least, people lining up to ask their questions. Let me just fix my aesthetics. So, what's going on with you guys? And please don't ask all your questions at the same time, one at a time. Now, what happened? I thought many of you are waiting for the live stream as you've been emailing me. When you go live, when you go live, I'm live now. Unless you want to wait till I'm dead, then come on up. Let me just respond to this that wanted to know when I'm going to go live. Mhm. YouTube. All right. Okay. All right. Now we are here. I guess I'll just have my tea and wait for you guys to get your acts together and come online. And if you are not, then I can perhaps do some other things. There it is. Clay is here. Says, hello, Mr. Mayor. I miss you. Well, okay. And let me know your age, gender, where you're tuning in from, as I cannot remember. Clay, is that the first time you're here? Obviously, you've been here before. You know my name, but I don't remember your call sign. Clay says it's been a while that you didn't left. Yeah, it's true. Actually, today I was kind of groggy to know if I'm on or not, and if the connections are done well. Well, last week I think I had something to do, so we didn't have it. But then I did have one. I think on Friday night, and then on Sunday, I think I replaced the live stream. But here I am now. Oh, Clay says I was there 4 or 5 months ago. All right. Perhaps that's why I don't remember now. The whopping five people here. That's very encouraging. So now we just lost one. I spoke too soon. Clay says other times I just connect, listen, but don't ask questions. All right, it's a good idea because I'm going to make the pay-per-view. Like you ask questions, you pay, you ask questions. Otherwise, channel can't survive. So that's what I'm planning. In fact, actually, I don't know if I talked about it or not. I think I did. my programmer kindly is working on having a feature on the site, mind@seekstruth.com. You all know that I have a site, www.mind-that-seeks-truth.com. Mind@seekstruth.com. That's where you can make an appointment for a Skype consultation and we'll discuss what's concerning you one on one on Skype. But I'm having a feature on the site that instead of having the ones who prefer or can't afford a private discussion, because I'm upping the prices for private consultation as the prices were really too dirt cheap compared to what's out there. There are from $400 to $600 an hour, but I charge 100. So that's pretty, I think, not meeting the market. So anyhow, but however, for the ones who can't afford a private discussion, I'm having a feature put on my site where you can actually choose to have a group session, like when there are bunch of people, about maximum 10 or 15 people can share a session where they can ask their questions and enjoy the answer to each other's challenges as well, plus their own questions. And for that, it's not a 1 hour program, it's 2 or 3 hour program. So everybody get a time, depending on how many people we have, but at least 2 hours. So everybody gets time to ask a bunch of questions. And if the numbers are bigger, then we'll have like 3 hour session. But it's a shared one, so it'll be fraction of the price of the um, private ones. So that's coming, and hopefully it'll be done soon. And Tia Tia, female 19 UAE. Ahlan wa sahlan. I guess that's the extent of my my Arabic. We had to study Arabic in school, and I have to be honest, we hated it because it was so difficult. It's a more complete, grammatically more complete language than even French. And I had enough trouble with French, let alone, la, lo, and all that. And feminine, masculine, table was masculine and something was feminine. It was just ridiculous in my mind. And then Arabic had the same thing. It was even more difficult. So we actually didn't like it, but we had to take it. And I think I got, passing grade was 7, and I got 7. It was a difficult language just for us. So anyhow, Tia, welcome. Good to see you back here. And Tia says, I have a concern about new relationships. I always start to be anxious when I find someone I feel I like. I keep overthinking about them, even though sometimes I don't even know their name. I start feeling anxious about the relationship that might happen and that I will do and what I will do and if we will continue or break up. It drains me a lot, and sometimes I start to feel I'm losing my authentic self from that feeling of anxiety and fear. It happened to me maybe 7 times with different people, and now I don't know anything about them. All right. Well, I think the reason is that you want that relationship too much. In other words, you have created an image of yourself that unless you're in a relationship, you're not complete. And therefore, when there is a chance for you to be in a relationship, you have attached yourself to the outcome. So you're focusing on the outcome that you wanted so much, and therefore, naturally, the brain is programmed in such a way that whatever you love, it attacks it and fears you of not having it. In life, in general, whatever you love and you like, there is a fear of losing it. Think about it. You love your car, you fear if it's stolen or keyed in or scratched. You love your house, you fear of losing. You love your job, you fear of losing it. You love your girlfriend or boyfriend, you fear of losing it if they leave you. So everything in life, the brain is trying to protect. The amygdala is sending emotional danger signals for you to be aware to protect what it is important to you. That's why intrusive thoughts happens a lot because they're always opposite of what you are and what you're interested in. And the intrusive thoughts are the negative thoughts that show up. But in fact, it's trying to alarm you to keep you in shape to take care of what is important to you. But it overdoes it, and then you go nuts because it's constantly there, and you try to think of it as a conclusion, and then it drives you nuts and crazy, and then you don't have your balance. So you got to understand that the brain does certain things to protect you, but then it also malfunctions and it overdoes it, and you shouldn't be concerned about it. So stop concluding what the brain's thoughts mean. It's just irrelevant to you. It makes thoughts, and let it make thoughts, and you just don't worry about what it does. You live your life with choices and vetoes. So whatever thoughts brain makes, let it make. You don't have to know what it makes. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to choose it. It doesn't mean anything. It has no relevancy, and it has no conclusion or message to you. But you think it does because it's mounted in your head and it's part of you. And you think, therefore, if something shows up here, you got to know what it means. It means nothing. It's just what this organ, the brain, does, makes thoughts. And you choose what you think is usable and what you think is not. You just let it die by the wayside. However, when you attach yourself to the conclusion, to a outcome that you desire, then that is something that you want. And naturally, again, as what the program of the brain is, it attacks it, the fear of what if it doesn't happen. So you simply got to say, I detach myself from the outcome. And if I like somebody, well, it maybe happen, maybe won't. Simple. I mean, I walk in the street, I can be in love every second. There's so many beautiful girls out there, but I can't expect every one of them like me back. So if they do, fine. If they don't, don't. It's like passing by a garden. There's so many flowers. You're not supposed to own every one of them. You're not supposed to pick every one of them. You just see, enjoy, smell, and go. It's part of life journey. If you want to possess everything, that's the problem. You see, your challenge is that you want to turn an impermanent to permanent. Every time that you want to turn impermanent to permanent, that's when the suffering starts. For example, you see an apple, you take an apple, you take a bite into it, you say, wow, this is so delicious. I want this so much. It's so great to have an apple. Now, that joy, that feeling of joy, now you're turning it and ruining it by expecting it to be a permanent thing rather than what it was, for what it was, the duration that it was, the one bite that it was. Now you want it all. You want the whole apple, you want it more bites, and you want it every day. So you're turning an impermanent, an experience, to a permanent. That's when the fear of what if I won't have it tomorrow? What if I won't have another apple? What if it wouldn't taste the same? And all these what ifs, because of what you like, ruins that whole experience that you had for a bite of apple. So you like someone, well, great. But don't expect it to be yours. Don't expect it to work out. Don't expect it to be a permanent, long lasting relationship or a relationship. Just enjoy it for what it is. If it turned out to be a relationship, great. If it didn't, well, life goes on. Next tree maybe has peach, no apple, but still fine. So detach yourself from the outcome and you will not be anxious because you're not really worried about how it is going to go down. You just say, it's wonderful that I'm here and I'm going to have fun with this friend or with this new acquaintance, whatever. And I don't expect anything more. Let's see what happens. I don't have to own them. I don't have to have them. The fact that right now I'm having this tea, that's all my focus should be. Now, if I worried about will I have tea tomorrow, I'm not going to even enjoy this because my mind is about worrying about something that hasn't even happened. You're worrying about this relationship not turning into a relationship. It's not a relationship right now. and you're not enjoying that what it is, and instead you're projecting some kind of an outcome in the future that has the future hasn't come yet, let alone the outcome of it to be known to you, but you're honing on that, and then the brain attacks for what you hope that might not happen, because that's what the brain does, so you can actually try harder for it, and then it ruins that whole moment that you wanted to enjoy. So if I just think about, oh, will I have tea tomorrow? Then I wouldn't even be focusing about this tea that I'm having now. I'm worried about something that hasn't happened. Even the tomorrow hasn't come, but I'm worried about what's going to be in it. So let's just enjoy the tea. And if I have tea tomorrow, great. If I don't, I'll try to get one. And if I don't, well, I'll have water, whatever. That's the way to live. Otherwise, you'll always be anxious for something. Right now, with the turmoil happening in Canada, with this dumb idiot prime minister that we have, that is taking all our freedoms and changing all the laws and introducing bills as if it's his own, as if it if the country belongs to him, and he's just trying to limit our freedoms and take away the things that belongs to us, not to him, changing the constitution. So all these are worrying some things for us if I want to focus on it. Unfortunately, I do focus on it. But however, when I'm finished making my videos in regards to the politics of Canada on TikTok, then I'm done. I'm happy, and I go about doing my other duties and responsibilities. I've done my share. I've made some awareness. I educated myself. I watch whatever else other people are inputting about this, the news that is going on. So I'm prepared to know enough information about what's happening. And when I do contribute my views about whatever it is that I want to communicate on TikTok or whatever social media I can find, that is not going to ban us just because they're talking the truth or talking about democracy and is not necessarily in line with the narratives of the dumb government, then I will do. And once I'm done, then I'm done. I'll go to the gym, I'll have a discussion with my friends, and I enjoy it without worrying about what's going to be happening tomorrow, because I can't control tomorrow. Tomorrow is not even here yet. I will deal with it when it comes. So in that way, I can at least take my worries a little bit to a lower limit. Otherwise, there is no end to worrying. You can always worry about something all throughout your life, whether it's health, money, economics, government behavior, infringement of our rights, people's infringement on each other's rights, all these other things. What can we do? You can't constantly be concerned about something. Otherwise, your life turns out to be just a concern, a big concern, a worry. It's no longer fun. We will always have traitors, betrayers, and dumb people, and abusive people, embezzling people, dishonest people, and they're mostly in government and politicians. We'll always have that, but we got to find legal means and ways to educate them, to participate in hoping to change all these flaws in the system. But they're ongoing. They've been corrupt from hundreds of years ago. They're still corrupt. There will always be corrupt, at least some corruption in them, regardless of what they utter before they get elected. So, on that note, life is the same. Do your best, but don't expect to attach yourself to the outcome. At least in that way, you'll have a little bit easier time to go through this journey of life. All right. We have, who do we have here? We talked to Tia. Tia, Orlando Asuna is here. Hello, Orlando. Orlando says, Male 45, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Thank you very much for that. Says, my ex ended our relationship 4 months ago. Been doing okay, but I'm a sensitive person who cares for other a lot, and I can't seem to come to terms with the separation. I get waves of nostalgia and memories of her, and I feel awful. Any advice on how to overcome that? Thank you. Yeah. Well, the question would be this: if she can be okay without you, why can't you be okay without her? If she can do it, you can do it. What is it that you think you're saving? You have created an image of her in your mind. And because we by nature are selfish, every one of us, there's a selfish element to all of us. So when we like a girl, and if you're a girl, just reverse it, it works for all everybody. If you like a girl, because you think you're the top dog, you're the best of the best, therefore you believe I deserve the best. And regardless of what you deserve, you have a girl that you like, that's your girlfriend, but you still think you're the best of the best in this world. You're the most important person in your life. Every one of us are. So if you're the best of the best in this world, then your girlfriend must be the best of the best. She may not exactly be. She may not be the most good looking. She may not be the sexiest. But that is what your portion was. That is what has come to you. And you have agreed. You like her. You want her. But now you're going to select certain positive attributes of her using what and how she introduced herself to you, the impression she left for you, which is mostly not true, not all true. Every woman and every man tries to put themselves in the best light that they can. So, what they offer to the other person, as much as it is truthful, but it is also exaggerated because they want to be at the best light. It's natural. They're not trying to lie, they're just trying to be more presentable. And from that selected attributes that she introduced herself to you by, you will choose the best of them and you create an image of her in your mind about her for you. And that image becomes your girlfriend. Now, you put her on pedestal not because she's so great. For one reason, she is, you love her and all that, but also because you're selfish, because you say, if I'm the best, then my girlfriend is the best. So you keep fluffing her up in your own mind because you deserve the best woman. So you turn her to be the most in everything. And then you fall for it. You actually believe the creation of that image of her in your mind. You created her higher than what she is, better than what she is. If she's smart to the level of 10, you say, well, she's smart to the level of 100 because you're selfish. You want to have the best of the best. So you make her bigger than what she is in every way: beauty, talent, responsibility, sexuality, care, unselfishness, attentiveness, everything. You just make her so good. And when you talk to your friends, you just, oh, she's amazing. She's great. Why? Because you're actually trying to tell them that you're amazing. That's why I have an amazing girlfriend. So you build her up. And while you're doing all these things, you create an image about her in your mind that is way beyond what she actually is. But you fall for it. You believe it yourself because you keep repeating it and you feel you deserve it. So you've made her something that is contrary, not exactly the same as her actuality. But you have now having a relationship with that image, not with her. You have created an image of yourself in your mind, and you have created an image of her in your mind, and she has created an image of herself in her mind, and she has created an image of you in her mind. And these images are having a relationship. And you have created an image of her in your mind, and you have an image, you have a relationship with that image. Now, when she leaves, you now think the best of the best in the world that could ever be possible, because that's what you made her to be, left me. Now you're devastated. Because yeah, how can I live with something that there is no better than that coming? It's not possible because you already made yourself believe that she is the goddamn representation of every woman that ever existed in everything: smart, sexuality, responsibility, love, attention, everything. So, what you need to do is to focus on who she is in her actuality today, not what she used to be, how you used to think of her and feel about her then, not when you were all lovey doveys and so hot and bothered for each other. Look at her the way she's treating you now, the actuality of her, what she's doing, how she's reacting, what happened that you guys ended the relationship, all the things that were going on. Focus on the things that were not right. And then you will say, well, if all those things were not right, no wonder we're not together. And that's fine. That's exactly how it should be. And then you can deal with it. But if you constantly think of her, not the way she is in actuality right now at the present moment and how she interacts and treats you, and keep thinking of her as how she was and project that how she was then to how she is now, just because they physically look the same. So therefore, you're projecting her persona from the past to what she is today. You can never see her today. You will have no reason to think why she left me or why I don't want to be with her. Because all the good things of the past, you're projecting it to what she is today, which she's no longer what she used to be. Simple. Now you can see the truth and say, well, definitely that kind of an activity, that kind of an actuality, I don't want to be with her. So you unwound her instead of constantly having a romantic relationship with this image that you have made, a perfection, the perfect image you have made of her, and then you're wondering why you can't move on because you created something perfect that she's not. So create something else perfect. For heaven's sake, Raquel Welch passed away just a short while ago. When you look at her, she was the most beautiful woman ever existed, I think, sexiest of all. But at her older age, although she was still gorgeous, even in her 50s or 60s, even in her 70s, she was still gorgeous. But she wasn't the 25-year-old Raquel Welch. You got to see her for how she is rather than your romantic feelings about her to draw her picture, even though she no longer behaves or can represent the way she did years ago. So even that perfection changes. Yet you think the one that you created a perfect image of her when she wasn't actually stays the same. You focus on her actuality, you will see the difference. You know what I'm trying to say? Raquel Welch was a perfect beauty, but even her, even she changes through the time. I didn't know her enough to know. I didn't know her at all to know her character, but obviously her character also might have changed through the time. So everything, no matter how perfect they are, at one time they change. I bet you Raquel Welch always stayed perfect. God bless her soul. So much love and attention she brought to herself and made so many young men like me be hopeful about such beautiful women exist. However, what I'm trying to say, the point is that even if that beauty can somehow in character or looks change with all the perfection that she had, then everybody else can also change. And that's an acceptable trait. You can't keep thinking about this one that you're not with as how she used to be and not expect her to have changed and fool yourself that she's still the same girl physically and mentally and the way she reacted, interacted with you as she did then. It's not possible. So if you still think that way, that's why you're hooked on her. If you take that out and realize that reality, that it is not, she cannot be as beautiful, as wonderful, as well behaved, as caring, as attentive as before. And if you focus on her actuality, now you see that she is no longer behaving and interacting with you the way she did that you liked so much. So what you really hung up on is on the image that you created of her in your head about her, but is not true representation of her. Focus on her true representation, and you'll have an easier time to move on. All right. Talking to Akash Shavan. Says, I have OCD. Now, Akash, age, gender, where you're tuning in from, and I'll get back to you. TT says this is totally true. Okay. Clay says male 25 France. Oh, bonjour, monsieur. Bonsoir, I guess. I'm still thinking every day of my ex. That's your choice. You know, many of you think, oh, I'm thinking about my ex, so that means I have no choice. No, you're thinking about her because you haven't created a new order in your life. You're still hanging on to the old order when she was with you, and you haven't had the chance or a focus to create new mechanical processes. That means the new things that you want to do in life, new things you want to learn, new things you want to be active in, new friends, new activities. And when you do that, you create new routine. And from new routine, you create new order. And your mind finds security in the new order of life. Yet you're not creating a new order because you're not creating new activities and new mechanical processes. Therefore, you're stuck with not having an order because she has left. You cannot continue the way things were when she was with you. So the order of your life is broken. And the mind finds security in the order. And if the order is broken because one of you have left, therefore you can't have an order in the actuality of life. But the mind still wants security. Where can it find? Not in the actuality. You have no order anymore. It's broken. And you're not together to create that routine and mechanical process and order together every day again. So what do? The brain says, I know where the order exists in the memory because we record things. So it goes in the memory, finds the order as things were, and it's a virtual world. The brain can't tell the difference between virtuality and actuality. So in the memory, it finds the order, how things used to be, and it feels safe and secure. While it feels secure, it also sees her in that part of the memory because she's part of that order that is recorded, and the brain is now in the memory enjoying that security, but she's also there. When the brain notices her in the memory, it triggers the file that is called prerequisite file to desire to be born. There are certain steps that needs to be met for desire to be born, and those steps have been met in the past. The steps, whatever it was, we have a video on it. You can watch it, desire and how to stop it and so on. So those steps have been met and have been also recorded in the memory. And once this file is triggered, the file opens, and the brain thinks that all the steps necessary for desire to be born have been met again. And because it's been met, it desires her again. So you're constantly desiring her because you're in the memory. Why you're in the memory? Because you don't have the order to feel secure in the actuality of life, because you haven't created a new mechanical processes and new order and all that. Therefore, you keep going into the memory. If you create the new activities and new interests and new learning projects and new friends and new things that you want to do, new mechanical processes, new interests and so on, then you will create a new routine, you will create a new order, and the brain will find security in the order that exists in your real actual life, and it doesn't need to go to the memory anymore. When it doesn't go into the memory, doesn't meet her, the prerequisite files of desire to be born will not be triggered. You will have an easier time to forget about her because you're now going on building new things and having created and advancing your new order in the actuality of your life. Whew. All right. And 6 months ago, and we were together for 5 years. She went straight to another guy and became nasty with me, even though we had good relationship. Yeah, usually that's what happens when women change their man. They mostly, not all, mostly pretend that that man didn't even exist and they never slept with you because they just want to sever that relationship. And that's fine. Why do you care if she's nasty to you or not? You don't want to have a relationship with her anyhow. So you move on. You got to move on and replace with something that is suitable to you now, and then everything will be balanced again. Akash Shavan says, how should I believe? Okay, no, what happened? I still need that information. Aha. Male 20, studying medicine, gonna be doctor in 2 years. I can achieve great heights because of my abilities, but this OCD has crushed me. I sleep entire day. I just can't find happiness. Please, you're like God. I'm not God, my friend, but I can share with you what I know. He says, please help me. Okay, let me read your question from the beginning. Akash says, I have OCD, pure O, from last 3 years. I thought I was cured. See, that's one of the first problems, that we think OCD or mental issues or every single human being's mental state is about this way or that way, cured or not cured. No, everybody, every single 8+ billion of us in this world have one kind of an OCD, intrusive thoughts. We all have intrusive thoughts, whether it's OCD level or not, but we all have intrusive thoughts. And thinking that I'm only normal when I don't have intrusive thoughts, that's bogus. That's wrong, because we all do. The thing is, in the brain, in midbrain, basal ganglia, in the striatum, there is a lever, so to speak, called caudate nucleus. Caudate nucleus's job is that to see if there is intrusive thought that is not in line with your values, it shuts it off. It's like a gear shift in an automatic car, that it automatically changes gear. It does it automatically. But sometimes when this gear shift doesn't work automatically, it gets stuck in the same gear. Doesn't change the gear. It's supposed to, but doesn't change the gear. It's not that there's anything wrong with the car. It's just the gear shift doesn't change. So pretty much, literally, you got to grab on the gear shift and put it in the gears too. So what I'm trying to say is that when this happens with our brain, we're supposed to learn how to help the brain to rewire itself and to get back to that default behavior of changing gear, meaning when the intrusive thoughts show up, looping and creating a question, or it wants you to interpret it, not knowing about what OCD is, you try to think, you'll start thinking that there's a message in this intrusive thought that showed up. It probably is about me. I'm being changed, or something about me that I have to deal with it. No, it's not true. It's just that the caudate nucleus is not working. So you need to help the brain to rewire itself through neuroplasticity and through the exercises that is known and discussed in the book of Dr. Schwartz, Brain Lock. It explains to you the 4 steps, simple 4 steps for you how to deal with this intrusive thoughts. Now, I'm going to put that 4-step video. I made a video on it, so I'm going to put that 4-step video for you, so you'll be able to use it. And also, there is a actual text of it. The people who make an appointment with me on Skype for a private consultation, and if they have this question, I will also give them the text, which is a printed matter that you can actually read the 4 steps. But this video has the 4 steps for you, and it discusses exactly what Dr. Schwartz talked about, and it is made from his actual presentation. So here it is, 4 steps. 4 steps of Dr. Schwartz. There we go. So here's a link to that 21-minute tape. You'll enjoy learning about it. And there we go. So by understanding how you can help the brain to rewire itself, you will practically helping caudate nucleus to get reconditioned and start doing it automatically again. Because it takes a while for you to help the brain to rewire and remember what its automatic function was. And once you've trained it, retrained it, it will click back and it'll do its job. But never should you expect that I will never have intrusive thoughts and that's when I'm healthy. No, we're all healthy and we're all crazy. We all have intrusive thoughts, come and go. Sometimes they linger a lot because it's something you really, really care about. And the thing that you love more and you care about more, there's going to be more attack of fear and opposite of what you actually are interested and what really you are. Opposite of it, the brain secretes and attacks it with. That's what OCD is, actually. It comes up with things that is not really true, but for the brain needing psychological security, brain cannot really find psychological security because it's not attainable, but it wants it like our body needs security, and we find that security in a safe physical environment, like right here. My arms are here, my ears are here, my legs are here. I'm in my apartment, the door is locked, and I'm in good part of town. So safe physical environment creates physical safety for me. But the brain also wants safety, but can't find that safety in a physical environment. It needs a different way of finding security. And it finds security in occupation, in busyness. So the brain keeps producing thoughts. In creating thoughts, it creates a time and a space. From virtuality, it believes that it has created a physical place in a virtual world by thinking, because it kind of focuses on a certain thing and a certain moment and space in time. So it believes that now I have a housing, I have a place, I have a physical place in a virtual world, because brain's function is in a virtual world. So it can't find the security in a in an actual physical space, but still wants the security. So through these continuous thinkings, it creates that fictitious place that it can be, until you go one step further and through meditation teach the brain to coordinate itself with the body and find a place in the body to actually coordinate with the body, become one, and as one center to find solace, security, and relaxation on that physical yet still virtual moment, virtual point in a physical part of your body. That's a different story for a different time, but I have a video on that as well in the meditation and the 1 point and so on, that I've explained how mind and body can both be coordinated and be at one place together at the same time, which is where the mind finds place to relax. Otherwise, it tries to find security and relaxation or contentment into continuous production of thoughts. That's why brain creates 80, 90 thoughts a day. That's its way of finding commitment or contentment or security, so to speak, because it doesn't have a physical place to say, oh, I'm safe here. It finds its safety through occupation, busyness, or the order of life, the two different things. Now, so the 4 steps will help you to retrain the brain, and then you will be able to handle OCD. Otherwise, OCD is part of life. I had OCD, all kinds of it, since childhood, because the brain always wants to protect something. Let's say I love my parents, I love my life, my little life at the time, at the age I was, but there was no way to assure myself that it's going to be like that all the time. So I would find a fictitious way. That's why people pray. That's why people give charity, to say, I give this money to this beggar and I hope that his or her prayer will save me or give me some solace or some success in my exams, or in my finding that girl that I want her to love me too, and all these things that you do because you have no other way to make it come together. So you deal with these fictional things, you create these conditions, and you create a situation where you allow it to become believable. You're looking for a belief without an evidence, which that itself is a different topic for discussion. Uh, Many things become simpler once you believe it. But if you're looking for evidence in many things that you believe, there's no evidence. You can't find the evidence. But it is more helpful and comfortable if you actually can believe it. So we are always looking for a way to, through belief, make things easier. So if for me, I wanted my family to be safe and I didn't know how to bring that, I would maybe create some kind of a condition in my brain that if I touch that light switch 5 times, everything would be fine. Everything would be balanced. And some kind of a fictitious or magical world will protect me because I touched this light switch 5 times or 10 times, or washed my hand 5 times because I thought it's dirty, even though it's clean, but I got to wash one more time. These are obsessions, and there's a compulsion coming through. And through the obsession and compulsion, what you're actually doing, Akash, you are actually conditioning yourself to continue this. This is how it works. In midbrain, basal ganglia, there are three circles, striatum, three centers on top of each other. Every one of them that you stimulate, you work with, it also stimulates the next one without you knowing. For example, the three circles are in striatum are goal finding center, goal finding center. Then there's a reward center. Yeah. And the third one I'll tell you in a second. So let's say the goal finding center. That's when you have an obsession, let's say, to wash your hands. Washing your hands is your goal, let's say. So there's a compulsion that I gotta wash my hands because my my goal finding, it tells me that I gotta wash my hands. The obsession to wash my hands. So my compulsion says, go wash your hands. So I wash my hands. While I'm doing that, I say, the obsession that made me the need to wash my hands unnecessarily, but need, as if I don't do it, something bad will happen, made me go wash my hands. So when I did the compulsion, washing my hands, I feel comfortable, safe. I did what I was conditioned to do. I did what was a condition for me to be safe, and I did that. So when I do that, I feel, and that comfort is a sign of dopamine have been released. So now the reward center is stimulated because I used the goal finding center. The goal finding was to wash my hand. The compulsion was to wash my hands. And the reward was the dopamine. So while I was washing my hands and I got the dopamine, so I stimulated the reward center as well as the goal finding center. So after a while doing this washing hands and I get dopamine, no longer I'm doing the compulsion because of the obsession. I'm doing it for obsession, but I'm also more interested to get the dopamine. So I'm really doing the washing hand to that feeling of awe afterwards, because when I say that, when I feel that way, the chemical dopamine is released. So I feel elated and happy. Something good happened. I become balanced. So I'm not addicted to dopamine. So while I was trying to wash my hands and do the compulsion for the obsession, I was stimulating the reward center, the dopamine center. And dopamine is addictive. So I became addicted to dopamine. So no longer I'm doing it because I want to wash my hand. I'm doing it because I want to get the dopamine. And every time I did get the dopamine, I was also stimulating the third circle, the habit center. So after a while that I keep doing it and get the dopamine, and now I'm doing it for the dopamine, not necessarily for the obsession. I'm doing the compulsion to get the dopamine. After a while, I'm not even doing it to get the dopamine anymore. I'm doing it. It became my habit. That's when it becomes more difficult to get rid of the OCD, because then you got to attribute it and attach it to the health situation, the effects of it on your health, and then to be able to get it out. For example, someone who's smoking all the time, the smoking ends up being a habit, to the point that the person who's actually going to a store, buying a pack of cigarette, opening the silicone wrap and tearing apart the package itself to get one cigarette out, put it on his or her lips, and then flick a fire 2 inches to his face, which is contrary to the safety, but he does that. That person, with all these actions that he did to smoke a cigarette, if you ask him, sir, do you remember you just went to the store and you paid for a pack of cigarette, you opened this, you tear it apart, you put a cigarette stick out, put it in and put a fire too close to your face? He says, no, I just know I'm smoking. That was a research of Dr. Anne Grable through one of her postgraduate studies. Carl Smith, I think, was involved. But Anne Grable was the one who actually pioneered the study about the cluster of actions to the brain seems like one action. That's why OCD becomes very difficult to get rid of it, because to the brain is only one action, but there's so many other actions that were involved. So if you ask this person, are you aware that you do all this? He says no. Why? Because it has become his habit. And the habit usually doesn't focus on the number of actions that's required to do something. It only thinks about the outcome of that, which is translates to one action. So cluster of actions to the brain becomes one action, seems like one action. So when you when you get to that point, it becomes difficult to get rid of it unless you start focusing on the health effects of this one action to your person, which when you attribute cigarette smoking that it's not good for lungs and not good for heart and circulation and all these things, then it can help you to kick out of it. It starts weaning off. So that's why it is important not to let the OCD to stimulate to continue enough to become a habit. So when it's on the obsession stage, such as the goal finding stage, which you're going to go wash for the compulsion, it's best to be aware of it so it won't get to the dopamine stage, the reward finding center, and then worst would be when it goes into the habit center, because more difficult to get rid of. You still can get rid of it, but it becomes more difficult. That's why knowing about the whole mechanism of OCD is important for you. So you want to be a doctor, you should now be able to use your knowledge to see how it's going to condition your brain to make it more difficult to get rid of it if you constantly stick to the reasoning that makes it logical for you to continue this OCD. But for you, it's a pure O, which means doesn't have a physical activity to represent that repetition, that obsession. It's a pure O, which is thought. There is no physical thing to do, but it's a continuous looping. Now, that's the same with same analogy and same motions and same effects as the actual OCD, but only in a different way. But Dr. Schwartz's fourth step helps you to rewire the puro and also the physical type of the OCDs. And Dr. Philipson's studies and research shows and helps you to also understand how to deal with puro. In fact, puro was the coin phrase that Dr. Philipson coined it himself. So let's see what else you have said in here. Suzanne, just before exams. Yeah, all right. And full of intrusive thoughts. I missed one paper to do this. Well, you just use that example. So you missed the paper because of the intrusive thoughts. And you attended to intrusive thoughts. How did it help you? It didn't. It just messed up your exam. So you can see in reality, these intrusive thoughts have no truth to them, have no effect when you pay so much attention to them to deal with them. They just take away from all your efforts and opportunities you have on other fronts in life, and they actually have no good. Even if you get rid of them or don't get rid of them, just irrelevant. It's like a debris in the air. You spend your time to filter the air. There's still more debris. So instead, you just filter through your nose. There's hair in here, so these debris don't go in. And the same thing, you got to filter these things come into your head. When they come into your head, you simply say, so what? Whatever intrusive thought. What does it say? You can say all kind of shit. My father is a thief, it says maybe. Or my mother's a whore. It's a word. It's a thought. But because of your conditioning and your certain kind of a conditioned, traditional honor and all these bullshit that has been placed into your head, you now rise to get that thought, the idea out of your head because it's contrary to your values. Instead of realizing that this is just fucking words, has no reality and actuality. It's a suggestion of a brain, which is a bunch of neurons have created something that doesn't even exist, because the brain has the capability of creating things that they don't even exist. I give you an example. There is something in the brain called neural ensemble. You might already know about this. neural ensemble is very precise in the brain. That is when you actually create something in your mind that doesn't even exist. But the brain can create it even though in nature doesn't exist. For example, if I ask you to close your eyes and imagine a lion, but the head of the lion is a duck. Can you imagine that? Lion's body and the tail and the legs and all that, but the head is a duck. You can imagine that. But there is no such thing in nature, is there? You can imagine a Cadillac with the two booster rockets. It's firing up, and this Cadillac with booster rockets going towards the moon. But the hood of the Cadillac is an elephant with the trunk. It's an elephant with the trunk, and the rest of it is the Cadillac and the two booster rockets going to the moon. Is such a thing possible? Not in reality, but the brain can create that. So brain can create things that they don't exist. But in the brain, and while you're paying attention to it, it seems as if it's real. Because to the brain and what it creates has no ability to tell the difference between virtuality and actuality. So it can create everything in virtuality. And the intrusive thoughts are all created in virtual world, which means it can create anything, but none of them has any relevancy and has any truth or actuality to them. Just like the elephant and the Cadillac, just like the lion and the duck. It can create it, but just because it has created does not mean that it's actually actuality. It gives you a suggestion that it is, but you got to be wiser than that and say, well, it's neural ensemble. So the brain is active to create neural ensemble suggestions in words and meanings and suggestions and images in the brain, but none of them have any actuality, just as the lion with the head of the duck has no actuality in the reality in the real world. When you understand this, then you say, well, I don't give a shit what it creates, what image it brings, what suggestion it makes, what tells me that I am, or my father or my mother or my girlfriend or whoever is. I don't care, because what? It's a brain. It's malfunctioning, it's intrusive thoughts, it's a neural ensemble. It makes things that don't even exist in nature. So why am I worried about it? Why do I give it actuality just because it happens to show up in the screen of my head? When you understand all these, then you should train yourself, have a technique with 4 Steps of Dr. Schwartz book, that you can actually let these suggestions come and go without paying attention to them. Brain makes 80, 90,000 thoughts a day. You can't be constantly ciphering every one of them, see, oh, if it means anything to me. No, none of them mean anything to you because you were not involved in them being made in the brain. Brain just makes them because of all this information from out there, seeps through media, internet, whatever, bulletins, TV programs, new politically correct or incorrect, all kind of shit that they talk about and excessively talk about, everything that is unnecessary to children, to adults, to everything, all suggestion, all kind of lifestyles, and everything is out there. And all that information finds its way, seeps through to your consciousness, and the brain picks up from whatever inventory come to the consciousness and makes thoughts. That's what it does. It's an organ that makes thoughts. Your liver makes enzymes to purify something, to combat something, to give you bile, to have enzymes that to help digestion, to help everything else, and also detoxify you and all that. The kidney has the ability to cipher your blood and filter your blood and clean it up, and other things that is responsible for. Intestine has, gets the food, turns into energy, and the rest of it is feces, and has to go to the bathroom, get rid of it, and all those residues come out and so on. And brain also, what it does, it makes thoughts. And all these thoughts are just useless. But it's supposed to do that for you to choose if any of them are useful when you need something that you may be looking in the bazaar of the brain that makes thoughts. In the bazaar, you go and you see hundreds of stores. You don't stand and buy from every store. You just pass by, because you have no use for them. You don't pay attention to what they have on there now. Why? Because you're focused to find the store that actually has the product that you're looking for. Same thing. Brain keeps throwing things out, not knowing what you want and is irrelevant to you, but it throws them out because you may actually be looking for something, and you know what you're looking for, and what you're not looking for are the ones that are intrusive. So you just pass by the intrusive rather than trying to interpret what it means while you're here. Well, you can't tell the store merchant why you have this product here. Well, he does it for some people who want it. But you don't want it, you pass by. Same thing, intrusive thought shows up all kinds of things. Okay, so what? I'm not supposed to be monitoring the brain. I'm supposed to be choosing what is useful to me. So you live your life not by suggestion, images, or thoughts and ideas of the brain. You live your thought by your choices and vetoes. Vetoes and choices. You choose what to focus on, what not to focus on. And what shows up in your brain, you don't have to focus on it because they're all irrelevant and not anything that you initiated. If you understand that, then OCD is a thing of the past, it's part of our life, but it's got no meaning, no effect, and no use for us. And that's how you should think of it. One thing you should never allow is these sort of things that they actually have no value and they cannot do a thing to you, these intrusive thoughts, to affect the chances of you to accomplish something that is time sensitive, such as your exams, such as the things that cannot be brought back. You don't allow the intrusive thoughts affect and screw up what it is that you can't simply redo it. So what you do is you take a break. You say, look, I don't need to think about these things anyhow, but at this point I want to take a break of even paying any attention to them, that I'm still used to do that, but I will get rid of that eventually. But right now I take a break from it. I focus on my studies and exams because this one is got priorities, just like anything else. Intrusive thought, well, that's another lower priority. Exam, a higher priority. Different things. I got to buy milk, a different priority. I can do something for my mom, that's different priority. So you give priorities, and to the intrusive thought, you say priority is lower because it doesn't affect my life if I don't give it a chance. If I pay attention to it, it's going to ruin my exam because I don't have enough time to study. So I got to take a break at this, put it down there. I'll deal with it, but not now. I'll go do my exam, I pass it, and then I'm a doctor, and I say, okay, now what were you saying? Oh, that bullshit is too late now, too far. Anyhow, too late. I don't have any interest, or it's already passed. So, and also watch that video, that will help you out. Okay. Now you can see that this channel actually addresses questions and answers. It is not a pit to get your attention, get your money, and sell something to you. That's why it is important for me, for you guys, to promote the channel, help other people to also find this channel so they can be helped, so we can reach more people, help more people. This channel is basically free. I've got over 3,000 videos on this channel, helping on the topics that are questioned. If it's about thoughts, consciousness, fear, desire, ego, mechanical process, order, material process, and all that, we talk about it. If it's about relationship, breakup, devastations, and so on and so forth, we talk about it. If it's about OCD, subset of OCD, HOCD, all kinds of intrusive thoughts and repetitive thoughts and all that, we talk about it. But we talk about it in detail to help people, not just a teaser in order to get money. But the ones who want to know more and on personal basis, don't want to discuss it on public forums, then they go on my site, mind@6truth.com, and make an appointment. We'll discuss what's concerning them one-on-one on Skype. So for that reason, I want you guys help this channel to grow. Promote it on your social media. The videos that you like, put it on share. Whatever topic it is that you feel that it's something that you want to share with people, do it. Otherwise, it's been, 12 years, we have only 26,000 people, members. Why? Because most people don't find this channel. It's with 30, 40, 50, 100 million channels. We get lost. The ones who advertise, they get seen. We don't advertise. We don't have that kind of fund. Therefore, we are just wholesome. But I need your help to promote the channel as much as you can. If you've gotten benefit from it, that means other people can also get benefit from it. And from what we just did today, it was a complete understanding and explanation of what to do with OCD and relationships and so on and so forth. So it's meaningful. Help others to find this channel. That's all I'm asking. All right. Akash, it is your choice. What brain shows up to you as a suggestion or image or a idea, that's not true. You have a choice to comply to that or have your own direction, not an idiot's direction. Brain is an idiot. Brain is not smart. Don't make that mistake. And always remember, you're not the brain and brain is not you. There are aspects of you and the mind that is beyond the reach of the brain. With the experiments that Dr. Speary, Dr. Penfield, Dr. Owen, and Dr. Leibet have done, these are Nobel Prize winning echelon of studies in their laboratories. You can see that you're not the brain and brain is not you. There are aspects of the mind and you that the brain cannot even reach. You're beyond the brain. You're the awareness. Awareness who's aware of what the brain said, what the brain suggested, what the brain, how the function of the brain is. That's you. That's the awareness. You're watching the brain. Hmm? So brain is not you. You're not the brain. So when it suggests something, it's all bullshit. You don't have to accept it at all. It has no meaning, no bearing on you. It's irrelevant to you. And you have to understand that. Hmm? All right. So, where are we? Okay. Now, Defender of Justice says living in the moment is extremely hard. The definition of anxiety is the inability to sit with uncertainty, which is future thinking, right? Mm-hmm. And Defender says the brain. Okay, you're talking. Okay, you're just saying. Okay, you have no question, right? Fabio Lamin says, is mindfulness a good way of rewire the brain? Yes, it is very important to be mindful. Mindful basically is like if I'm drinking this tea, I'm aware that I'm drinking this tea. I'm with this tea. My mind and my lips that are doing the drinking are at the same place. I'm mindful. If I'm going down the stairs, I'm thinking that I'm going downstairs. I'm not thinking about my accounting. Not thinking about my girlfriend. I'm not thinking about, oh, she's leaving me. Or I'm not thinking about some sports activities while I'm going down the stairs. No, I got to be focusing on that. Mind and body coordinated. That's mindfulness. When my mind is where my body is, that's mindfulness. When I'm going up the tree, I don't know, coconut tree, while I'm trying to reach up all that high, but I'm thinking about like, some kind of a disaster that happened last year, I may fall because my body is there. My mind is not really focusing on coordinating everything. So when mind and body are both focused on the same time in space, the same subject and things that they're trying to accomplish, that's another explanation of mindfulness, paying full attention to what you're doing, mentally and physically. Mindfulness. Um, Says, yo, I'm 15. You got any advice for me? Yeah, grow up. What do you mean? What advice is that you focus on what's important and don't get involved with things that seems like they will make you happy, but they're not good for you. There are lots of things that makes you feel good, but they're not good for you. So always be aware and question yourself. What makes me feel good? Is it also good for me? For example, at age 15 or any age, many people are introduced into drugs or into alcohol or smoking or whatever else. So obviously it could make one feel something different. Some people make it feel good, whether it's drugs or alcohol or something. There's some reason they do it, gives them a certain kind of feeling. But always question, Is it enough that something makes me feel good to be involved in it, to act on it? Or should I also ask and see if what makes me feel good is also good for me? If that's the case, with an all good, reasonable, sound mind judgment, then okay, maybe I'll consider it if it's viable for me to do so. But I'm not going to do things just because they make me feel good, because what makes me feel good may very well not be good for me. I want to be mindful of that. So something that makes you feel good is not good reason to be active in it. That's perhaps something you can build on it. All right. Gabriel Espana says, are all dreams true? Are all them trying to say something to us? No, not at all. Contrary. No, most dreams are just bullshit. It's got nothing to do with anything. All right. Defender of Justice says, oh, my question would be, how do we manage to outsmart the brain? You don't. Brain is not smart to outsmart it. Brain is a machine. Thinking that the brain is smart and you got to outsmart it, you're bringing so much attention and focus to something that it feeds on your attention. Brain becomes active negatively when you feed it with your attention to it. When you don't pay attention to it, it relaxes. It is not active. Only when you call upon it to do something, it becomes active. Now, when it on itself produces something that is irrelevant to you, but you pay attention to it, and you try and interpret it as if it's a suggestion that is relevant to you, then you're encouraging the brain to continuously spoof out more. You're making it active because the brain wants to think that it exists, that it's alive. And the only way that it can feel that is by you paying attention to it. So it's constantly trying to get your attention by spitting out bullshit, garbage, to affect you in a negative way. So you rise and you create that interaction and fight with you. How do you dare you say that? That's not true. That's not me. All that creates an energy that it needs to be active. Otherwise, it goes dormant. Well, I give you an example that your attention causes the brain to become more defiant. It's like anything else. You put your hand to the wall. Let's say this is a wall. If I put my hand to the wall, nothing happens because I'm not pressuring. There is no resistance coming from the wall because I'm not pressing any force from this. I'm just placing it here. As long as they're touching, they exist. But as soon as I push the wall, then my hand starts aching, pain. Why? Because when I push, the wall is pushing back. Now I feel pain here. So as long as you don't pay attention, you don't push, you don't focus on something and put action to it, there is no resistance. The brain also, when you give it attention, it now kind of wakes up and starts spitting more shit out. Because if you ask it to do something, it will do something for you. But if you pay attention to what it has created without you asking or initiating that idea, then it starts thinking that that's what you want more of. So that's why you don't pay attention to it. And when you become aware of what the brain is doing, brain behaves. It's like when you observe the brain behaves. But when you start interacting and arguing and fighting with the brain, it's like pushing and it starts resisting back, and there is a friction. There's more of intrusive thoughts created. But when you just observe what it does without you suggesting or you focusing on what it has created, just look to see if this is creating anything, brain shuts down. There's a video I've made on the quantum physics experiment in a laboratory, that when they would fire the electron guns through a metal plate with a slit through it, the electrons will go through the slit and hit the wall behind, and it shows one line of electrons that hit the wall. The image on the wall, having gone through the metal plate with the slit through it, the electrons form a line, impression of a line in the back wall. But once they put two slits on the same steel plate, you expect two lines, but it's not. There are 20 lines. And the scientists were baffled. How could it be? One slit, one line, impression of the electrons fired through the electron guns. But when we put two lines, two slits, suddenly it's like 20 lines. What happens? Because electrons act weird. They go berserk because that's how I guess it happens. So they decided that we want to find out what happens. So they put an observer. They put a measuring device, which is not part of the experiment, but it's observing the experience. It's outside of the experiment, but it's observing, monitoring what happens in there. As soon as they did that, it's like they wanted to take a peek to look what happens. And when they fired the electron guns, they only saw two lines. Electrons behave because somebody's watching. Somebody's aware of what we're doing, what nonsense we're doing. So we just two lines. Now, you can do the same experiment right here and right now, and you will see what I'm saying in regards to intrusive thoughts, that the thoughts show up and so on, right? I want you to close your eyes, and however you imagine the real estate of your brain to be, I don't know if you imagine there are lots of rooms, different rooms, compartments, nooks and crannies, rocks, and under the rocks, or there are neurons all blinking, whatever, however you think the brain real estate is, I want you to look for a thought. Look to see a thought is being born. Look to see where you can find in nooks and crannies, in different corners, different angles of the brain real estate, in different rooms, in the neurons, whatever, however you imagine the brain to be. I want you to look all the corners that you think brain looks like. Look to see if there's a thought being born. When you actively are looking in every nook and cranny, you will see the brain is quiet. There's no thoughts. There's nothing there to see. Why? Because in quantum world, brain has realized you're observing it. Just like the electron guns fired the electrons were behaving because there was an observer. You are the observer. You're above because you're outside of the brain. You're not the brain. You're not part of the brain. Brain is not you. You're outside of the brain. You're the awareness. You're different than the brain. That's why whatever brain produces doesn't matter to you. You're not the brain. You're not part of the brain. You're outside of the brain. That's why when you're observing it, the brain shuts down because understands that something from outside of itself is measuring it. It's watching it, and it behaves, produces no intrusive thoughts, produces no thoughts whatsoever. Just like the electron gun were fired when the observer was there, the measuring device was there, the measuring instrument was there, it just showed two lines through the slits on the steel plate. So the conclusion of this is, the result of this discussion is that you're outside of the brain, you're not the brain. Whatever brain makes, it's irrelevant to you. It just does what it says, what it says. It's like you're walking in the street and somebody yells out or says something. That's their saying, not yours. In this situation, the same. It's brain saying. It's got no relevancy to you. The brain has the power to make your body to feel something according to a thought that it could conjure up. But that's the power that the brain has, that can make the body actually react to a thought. But the reaction of the physical body to a thought is not an evidence that the thought is correct or accurate or relevant to you. It's just the power that the brain has over the body to make the body to react to a certain thought. I give an example. You're on a tour in France, and the tour guide has taken all bunch of you to a vineyard. It's out of season, and the vineyard has all the grapes green, sour, and it's not the time yet. They're not sweet, they're sour right now. They're all green. So it gives you a piece, a cluster of the green, sour grapes to every one of you. And you guys put in your mouth and crunch on it. Ooh, it's sour. Oh my goodness, it's sour. Then it gives you a half a lime to each one of you to squeeze the lime in your mouth. Ooh, more sour. If you notice, if you focused on it, you have saliva in your mouth right now because of sourness. But there is no green grapes. There is no lime to be squeezed in your mouth. You did not bite into a green grape. There was no such thing, but still you salivated. Why? Because the brain has the power that the idea of sour something can make your mouth salivate. But that salivation, that reaction of the body to a thought is not an evidence that there is actually a lime or a green grape in your mouth that you bit onto it. So when an intrusive thought shows up and your body reacts to it, that's a power of the brain over the body. But that is not an evidence that the suggestion or the thought that the brain created has any actuality or any truth to it or any relevancy to it. It's just the way it works. But it's separate from you because you're not the brain and brain is not you. And we proved that by you looking for a thought in the brain because you're outside of the brain. You're a measuring instrument, just like the quantum physics experiment in the laboratory. The brain behaves. Why? It behaves because you're not part of the brain. Because you're not the brain and brain is not you. You're outside. You're above the brain. Brain cannot even reach you, the aspects of mind and you. And these experiments have been done by brilliant neuroscientists and neurosurgeons. And I'm going to put the video that I created on that for you guys to examine this for yourself in regards to experiments of Dr. Speary, Dr. Penfield, Dr. Owen, and Dr. Leibet to see that even when the brain is crushed through an accident, they can still communicate with it when all the physicality of the brain is crushed and done. So, and of course, the brilliant experience that the Leibet did, it's amazing. You will be enjoying that video. I'm not going to tell you about it because I'm going to go on for another 2 hours if I do. It's an interesting subject. So I'm going to say, put this video for you up here for you to reference it when you have a chance. You are not. There we go. It is my video that I created on the basis of Dr. Egnar's research on the research of Dr. Sperry, Penfield, Owen, and Leibet. And I elaborated on it a little bit, and you will see how amazingly interesting this is for every one of you, especially the ones who are dealing with OCD and OCD subsets such as HOCD and pure O and whatnot. So we go here, and here is the video that I suggest you guys to look at it. There we go. All right. User 22, that must be Christoph from Germany. Hello, Christoph. This is hello, Miran. Okay. All right. Defender of justice. So I think we covered lots of things today here, lots of meaningful and enjoyable and useful things. And Everett says, hello, how to 100% overcome feeling and unwanted emotions with HOCD. I believe this is the reason why I'm obsessed with being bisexual. Yeah, we just talked about the brain's activities and so on. So you can just watch the video. Perhaps you were watching it, so we already covered that. And there are also hundreds and hundreds of videos on these topics right here on this channel. So just punch in my search engine of my channel, not YouTube, search engine of my channel, and just punch in HOCD, and you'll see OCD or HOCD or both of them. You'll see all kinds of things show up. And then from the titles, you pick what you're looking for. Okay, guys, I think we have answered all the questions, and it's been 1 hour and 31 minutes. It's time for me to say I love you all. Thank you very much for being here, giving me the opportunity to share a thing or two with you. I look forward to our next live stream. In the meantime, be good to yourself and to the others. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Subscribe on my channel, visit my channel, and go through the videos that you might be interested in. Mind@seekstruth.com is making it one step away to talk to me one-on-one on Skype and discuss what's concerning you. I'll talk to you soon.
Well, we too, like the iceberg, have 1,000 times bigger powers that is not visible, and we must. Why? Is it something we're rambling on and I expect you to accept it? Or is there actually another power within us? Would you come and help me out? Okay. What I want you to do is put your hands underneath my arms and just lift me up. There we go. Okay, now, that's my physical part, right? Same thing. Again, with that. Just want to see if there's any difference. Go ahead. Now, go ahead. Now, this, go ahead, when you're ready.
Go ahead.
So you see, this is different than what he was doing, and I'm not really doing anything. You convinced?
Yeah.
So are you guys convinced that there is something other than, thank you. Thank you very much.